Here's Mark Haney.
What does winning look like? What does winning as an entrepreneur look like to you? If you're Mark Zuckerberg, right? You know Mark Zuckerberg, right, Tom?
Oh, yeah.
Now, we heard some news over the last couple of days that he had a baby, and he decided to donate 99% of his Facebook stock to charity. Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that.
Now, I think that's like $45 billion.
Right.
I think to Mark that probably looks a little bit like winning.
I'd say so.
But what if you're, say, a medium-sized company? Maybe you've got 20, 30, 40, 50 employees. What's winning look like? Would that be a second house in Cabo, laying on the beach with your hot baby mama? No?
I'm going to have to agree with that. But
winning looks different to all of us. And if you're a startup, maybe you're a one-man show, a couple of employees. Maybe it looks like doing a remodel to the house, adding that extra bathroom or building a backyard pool or something like that. Winning looks different to everybody. And I'm sitting here with Tom Cisneros, my partner in crime, and you are in the plaster concrete chair, which is guaranteed to crack.
Yeah, you brought a cover for it. It actually says plaster concrete on it.
It's guaranteed. Nobody will steal it. So as we think about winning and what it really looks like as you visualize winning, is it more important to focus on that prize, that payday, or do you feel like it's more important to focus on the process, focus on the pursuit of that payday? Which should you spend most of your time focusing on?
I don't know. Personally, I think, and we've had this conversation, not particularly about this subject, but we talked about how my business, when I owned the photography studio, I went at it a little differently. It wasn't a life. It was more lifestyle as opposed to the other term that we used. You remember what that was?
Legacy versus lifestyle.
Right. So I think maybe I focused a little too much on the payday and the lifestyle aspect of it, and I really didn't focus on the process and building something, which with the benefit of hindsight and getting to know you, was a mistake as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think it's a judgment call, and
Sure.
I think you gotta have your eye on the prize. You hear that a lot, but if you're out there, I coached some football, coached some baseball, and you think, what does winning look like on the ball field? And you don't keep your eye on the scoreboard the entire game.
Right.
You're keeping your eye on what your players are doing and what you're doing. Do we have the best guys in the best position, right? The right resources committed to the right opportunities. I think as entrepreneurs, that's something we have to do if we want to win.
That makes a lot of sense. It really
we
does.
have to. I mean, I was watching the news last night. Casey Taylor, Del Oro football coach. Del Oro, I don't know if you guys know this, but Del Oro won the section championship last night, and they beat Rockland. It was a tough game. And after the game, Casey came on the TV, and he gave a quote, and he said something along the lines of, "Our guys just kept believing. They believed in the process, and we knew in the end the score would take care of itself." Because Del Oro started off 2-6 this year, and they could have been demoralized. De La Salle, put the hurt on them.
Yeah, monster.
But they really played. They really competed that day against De La Salle, and so as they continued to focus on the process, even after starting out 2-6, they found a way to come all the way back, beat Granite Bay, and then beat Rockland and win the championship, and now they advance to the next level.
I just got chills while you're talking about that. That's awesome.
And for some reason, Del Oro continues to win year after year after year, and I got to think that we can attribute that success to this philosophy of focusing on the process, believing in the process, committing to the process, and in the end, everything's going to be okay. And I think in today's show, we're going to bring up two, I'll call them management gurus, two guys that really know leadership, and guys that can tie this whole thing together and will give us a sense as to what winning looks like to them. I'm Mark Haney. You're listening to Entrepreneurs Unlimited. And coming up in the show, in just a little bit, you will meet the owner of one of the largest swimming pool service companies in Northern California. You will meet Jerry Wallace. And we will also meet management and leadership guru Sean Murphy. Sean is the founder of Switch and Shift and the author of The Optimistic Workplace. And we'll be back in just a moment on Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, broadcast, and YouTube on HaneyBiz.com.
Now, here's Mark.
Right, and welcome back. We are here with my good friend Jerry Wallace, who is the CEO of SwimChem, one of Northern California's largest swimming pool service companies. How you doing today, Jerry?
Well, it's a pretty good morning. Not great, but pretty good.
What? Come on, now you're on the radio with Mark Haney?
Yeah, that's the really good part about it. You know, the thing that's keeping it from being great is something you alluded to earlier with Del Oro beating Rockland last night.
You weren't too happy about that, huh?
No, I aside from my day job, my night job is I'm the Rockland High School softball coach. So I was kind of leaning the other way.
Well, Rockland put up a good fight, and it just didn't work out this time, huh?
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, that's how it happens. So we'll talk a little bit about sports as we go through this because you and I know each other, have known each other a long time. You've done a tremendous amount of coaching, and you have played a lot of sports. So we'll talk a little bit about the parallels that sports and business have together. But before that, tell us about SwimChem. Give us an overview of SwimChem and what your business looks like.
Well, it's a large service company, which there aren't a lot of, taking care of residential swimming pools. Have an office here in Sacramento. We have about 2,500 swimming pools that we take care of on a regular basis. And we cover all the way from Highway 680 in Fairfield all the way up to Placer County and down to Stockton. I have an office in Tracy that services the East Bay Corridor and the Central Valley Corridor.
Now, when we promoted the show, we talked about your business being an empire, and you have 35 trucks?
About 35 service trucks on the road every day, yes.
Okay, so, I mean, that does sound like a swimming pool service empire to me, even though you kind of downplayed that a little bit. You're humble in that way, but, I mean, you have a significant size company and you service a lot of pools. And so, as a swimming pool service company, what does winning look like in your life?
Well, winning is, like you said, it depends on, it's a really personal situation, actually. And for me, winning is obviously being able to provide the lifestyle that I desire for my family. Not just me, my son works in the business too, so being able to, make sure that he has a future. So that's winning. But possibly the road to get to that point is making sure that my employees are winning. Okay. And that means that the customers are winning. If they're taking care of my customers and the customers are winning, my employees are going to win. Okay. And in return, that's how it gets to me winning,
So what is a customer? So what's a customer winning look like? Is pools spotless, or how can you tell if you're winning at the customer level?
Well, I just had a little bit of an email interaction with a customer yesterday, actually, and winning for the customer, in my opinion, is someone who's been satisfied enough to be a customer of ours for 33 years.
Wow.
So whatever it takes to make that customer stay, within reason, obviously. I mean, it has to be a two-way street, good for the company, good for the customer. But we have a lot of customers that are in that boat. They've been with us since the 70s, and they're still on service, and service has evolved as they have grown and aged from maybe they had the minimal service when they were younger and spry, and now they're a little more aged, and they don't have the time or the desire or the ability to go out there and do certain things. So we provide that opportunity for them to step up what they're getting from us.
What's winning look like to your team?
Being in a place where they enjoy what they're doing. And being able to, like my dream is to be able to provide for my family, to be able to contribute providing for their family. And I think we're successful in that vein because swimming pool service company is not some place that you would expect to have long-term employees. It would be kind of a transitional job for a lot of people. But probably over half of my staff has been with me for 10 to 12 years or more, and I've got 5 or 6 that are in the 20 to 30 year range.
Wow. Now that's got to be very unique in an industry, in a service industry like that, to have that kind of longevity.
Absolutely. It's definitely more of a thing that you would perceive as transient, but that tells me that's winning.
It's not a stepping stone job. People are making this a life for themselves.
Yeah, and they're able to do it because of their personal situations. I'm not going to say that if they didn't have a partner that they could have a successful, happy life. But who does that in today's world anyway? It's usually a 2-income earner situation, and they enjoy what they're doing. They enjoy working outside. They enjoy the autonomy, and we pay them well, and the benefits are pretty good. And combine that with their partner, they're able to own houses and have kids.
You mentioned that your son, John, is in the business. Tell us about your right-hand man.
He makes a lot of stuff possible. He makes my life easier and harder.
Harder?
You work with your son. I'm sure there's a little bit of easiness, and sometimes it's a complication. But he's wonderful. I mean, he runs our repair division.
He's high-spirited.
Yeah,
like
he's got a lot of energy. He's very opinionated, strong-willed, and where he learned a lot of the stuff that he learned is beyond me, because he's just high school educated, but he has all of these physical skills, tools, mechanics, electronics. The kid was building computers at home from going to Fry's and buying stuff when he was 12 years old, and all kinds of stuff, working on cars and stuff that I can't do.
And it strikes me as a softball coach, and you've coached a lot of sports. How does hitting a softball, the routines involved with hitting a softball, compare to the routines that need to be put into place to have a successful business?
I think it all correlates, and we've had discussions along the lines of how sports play into business. Okay, hitting a softball, baseball, golf ball,
it's
whatever.
Not the easiest thing in the world to do.
No, they're not easy tasks. So discipline, commitment, okay, and routine.
Okay.
You need to put the time in to get a consistent swing to hit good. Okay, and you have to do the same thing the same way every time. You watch the Major League Baseball players, they have a routine. They step into the batter's box, or before they step into the batter's box, they'll tighten their batting gloves, they'll do this, they'll adjust their helmet, then they step into the batter's box, they see one pitch, they step out, and they repeat exactly the same process every time. Okay, for me, business is the same way. If we can get people understanding that you have a process, when you go into the backyard to service a pool, there's a routine process that you should follow. And if you stick to that process, okay, it's going to increase your efficiency. The more efficient you are in the backyard, the more productive you're going to be. The more productive you're going to be, the more money I can pay you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what's as a CEO and the owner of the company, what's a routine or a winning process look like for you, Jerry? Let's hold you accountable.
Long days,
Yeah.
generally. I mean, I get to the office about 5 o'clock.
5 in the morning?
5 in the morning. That's usually the time when I can be the most productive. I have a guy that opens up and handles things in the Sacramento office, but I'm there as a backup for that. But it allows me time in the office when the phones aren't ringing and stuff like that, where I can really focus on getting a few things done between 5 and 7 when the rest of the office staff gets there. And then they start having demands on my time. And then after that, it's pretty much making sure that everybody else is doing what they're supposed to be doing. I try not to get down into the weeds too much and let people do what they're supposed to be doing, and let the managers manage the people they're supposed to be managing. I just have to make sure that they're staying the course and going the right direction.
So it sounds like getting off on the right foot, winning the morning, is part of winning the day.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And once I get that going in the right direction, then I can start looking at, doing the accounting stuff, looking at the financials and whatnot, and working on planning for the future. Or also, I'm involved in, one of the big California Trade Association, California Pool and Spa Association. I'm on the board there, so I have responsibilities to that. So I'm replying to emails and, going through all that stuff too.
And the other night, we were at our office working on the Allegiant Giving Project, and you were burning the candle at, 8 or 9 o'clock? I don't know what time it was. It was past my bedtime, and we were still there working on stuff. So you show up at work at 5, and you're working till the quitting time, which is usually pretty late in the day. Got to respect that, Jerry. Would you say that now in sports, your players at Rockland High School, how do you help them with that ethic and that? Because isn't today's youth tougher to get your arms around?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a different world than when you and I were playing. getting in their heads, making them understand that there aren't free rides. You have to earn your way. Many of these kids have aspirations of playing in college. My job is to help get them ready to be able to meet that dream. Most of their recruitment stuff in softball happens through their travel ball teams and whatnot, but the work ethic that's required, and I've been on the travel ball side, so I know what the coaches are looking for. I've talked with college recruiters. I've done all that. I've helped kids get into that situation, so I know what the expectation is. And no matter how hard I can make my stuff in high school, the next level is the next level in all aspects, and that's what I try to get them to understand. And once they've committed to their college, it's making them understand that now you thought the work was over because you got your college deal. Now the work really begins, because now the expectation is even greater on you, because I can't have you go off to college and not be prepared and fail there.
Yeah.
And all of that's relative to the same thing, because if I get those juniors and seniors that have their college commitments understanding and going in the right direction, it's easy to get the younger kids to follow.
Wow. And I'm assuming that the challenges that you see with personalities and leadership, leading your team on the softball field, some of the same challenges occur in your business as well.
Well, absolutely. That's, I had talked before about the guys that have been there for 20 or 30 years. It's like the other guys come in and they're not understanding. So it's like, talk to these guys, How are they doing this 20, 30 years later? How are they able to work here, enjoy their work, and provide for their families? Okay, so this is someplace you can stay if you buy in, if you believe, and if you jump into the program.
Win the morning, jump in, buy into the program. You're listening to Jerry Wallace, the owner of SwimChem. I'm Mark Haney. You're listening to Entrepreneurs Unlimited on KHTK Sports 1140, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at haneybiz.com.
Once again, here's Mark Haney.
Welcome back, and we are here with somebody I respect in business and in life, Mr. Jerry Wallace, the owner of SwimChem, I believe you're Northern California's largest swimming pool service company.
Pretty
One
much,
of them.
yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. A lot of trucks, a lot of business, a lot of operational experience. I want to share with our audience a little bit of a story that ties back to the show a little bit. And you and I are both involved in the Allegiant Giving Project, and you came on board, I think, earlier in the year, right at the first of the year. You're our first partner of the year this year. And so we were having a meeting at the office, and this was right around the time that you were having some eye problems. You had one of your eyes, if I'm not mistaken, is you're completely blind in one eye, and then the other eye was you had surgery, and you and Tammy were down there at the meeting, and you had just had surgery. You were basically blind, and I just remember it was kind of emotional for me seeing my friend. And even though you and I didn't run around together in high school and all that kind of stuff, but we've kind of been reunited, I guess, to a certain extent on this Allegiant Giving Project. And I'll talk about your generosity in a moment, but we sat there, and I remember talking to you and Tammy, and it was kind of an emotional moment. And you asked me a question that shocked the heck out of me. You said, "Do you remember what you got me for my birthday at my house?" And at this time, I think you were in about 6th grade, and I was 4th grade, and I got invited over to your house for your birthday party. And you and I had never talked about this before. And I said, "Yeah, I do remember what I got you." And we both kind of said at the same time. And you were blind at the time, and there was already a little bit of emotion because I was feeling, man, my buddy's got the potential of being blind here. And we both knew what I got you, and it was a 45. It was a little record, a 45, and the song was Stuck in the Middle with You. And the fact that we both knew that, and we've never talked about it in 42 years, and then you asked me that question at that moment, it was chilling at the time, and I think you couldn't see it, but it probably got me a little bit choked up. And, kind of gave Tammy a hug and stuff because we knew that you were going through a time where you have to battle your eye thing. And it was just ironic that you remembered that and that I remembered that, and we had never talked about it before. So fast forward, or I'll backdate it a little bit. So when my daughter got married, when I gave you that gift, your father, John Wallace, who was also my baseball coach and a guy that was a role model in so many ways, he teased me about that gift. And I remember feeling embarrassed, stuck in the middle of you. What is this, some rock and roll crap or something like that? And I remember, maybe that's why I remember the gift so well, is I was embarrassed that I had gotten you this 45. I thought, was it an inferior gift? Just a little kid. And it stuck with me that he joked about it. Well, then fast forward to my daughter's wedding, and I remember your dad was kind enough to take my mom to the wedding because she didn't have an escort. And I remember him walking up to the area where we were all meeting, and he was singing that song, Stuck in the Middle with You, or humming it, and stuck in, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And it's just, it was like chills. It's chills. And you and I shared, that story and that moment. And then I did my first radio show, right? The Uriah Faber show. And this is no lie. And Jerry's dad has passed away a few years back, and he was a mentor and a coach that took us to the, won the state championship in baseball with his dad and his mother, and we were really close. And anyway, so after the show, I don't know if you guys remember, I was kind of nervous during that show, and so after the show, I look at my phone and there's a text from Jerry. Good job, nice show, ! And I was like, wow, thanks, Jerry. I appreciate that. So I turn on my car and I'm driving out of the parking lot of KHDK Studios. And guess what song comes on? Oh, come on. Stuck in the Middle with You. I called Jerry. I was crying. I was just like, Jerry, there's somebody up above looking out for us. So.
Yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
All right. So where did you get your inspiration for what you do in the community and what you do in business? Because I know where I got some of mine.
Well, I think probably the same place. My dad coached Little League. He coached soccer from, the time I was probably 10, 11 years old. So I played. I had a passion for the sports. Like Mark, I didn't do a lot of college time. I did 2 years.
You did more than I did.
I did 2 years at junior college so I could play college sports.
You were a very good baseball player, Jerry.
Thank you.
And soccer.
And the silly thing is, we were talking earlier with some of the other guys around here that I'm about 2 or 3 classes short probably of my business degree there. But,
I think you've got your degree, Jerry.
Yeah,
I think you've proven that.
The same degree you got, the School of Hard Knocks, and learning trial and error and whatnot. And it's a lot of fun. But, he taught me about giving back through coaching. And that was one thing. And he was very charitable in his own way, giving to things. The thing I'm embarrassed about is that it took me a couple of years to get on board with the Allegiant Giving, partnership deal. And then we were talking and I got to do this. So you had expressed your desire that, you had a goal for new members for 2015. And so in December, I decided, well, I'm going to wait till January 1st, and then I'm going to be the first new Allegiant partner in 2015. So bright and early on New Year's morning, I'm on the computer, filling out my form and taking care of that business.
And you made a generous donation, and you made several other generous donations and put in a lot of effort. But maybe since we're talking about this, I don't know if our audience really understands what the Allegiant Giving is. Can you share with us what the Allegiant Giving is to you?
Well, the tagline that we're using right now, investing in today's heroes and tomorrow's leaders, that kind of, for me, gives you a pretty good picture of where we're going here. We raise funds. We do fundraisers. We help support youth athletic programs and even other programs at high schools and youth sports and whatnot. We also raise money, and we buy these Action Track wheelchairs, which are the coolest things. It's like almost looks like a tank track. So, wounded veterans that are handicapped and can't walk very well on their own, gives them the mobility to hunt, to fish, to do those types of outdoor things that they would otherwise not be able to do because of their handicaps. And the coolest thing was, this fall we had a fundraiser at the Allegiant Giving Center in the parking lot, and We gave an action track chair out to I think he was a Vietnam veteran, actually. I think he was a Seabee. And he was so excited that he was chosen to get one of the chairs because his daughter was going to be getting married and she wanted to have a beach wedding. So this chair was going to allow him to actually walk his wife his girlfriend down the aisle, his daughter down the aisle on her wedding day.
Yeah.
And otherwise, he would not have been able to do that on a beachfront wedding.
Yeah.
So it was exciting.
Touching, and he received that chair. We had a live band playing. He was actually dancing in the chair. These action track chairs are pretty cool dancing machines for a guy that's lost some limbs, and he was very excited and very pumped up, and it was heartwarming to see that. So Jerry, you give back to the community. You do all these things. What's in the future for you? I know you've started a new division at. Well, let me back up a second. I got to say, if you're interested in the Legion Giving Partners, it's a bunch of business guys that have gotten together and said, hey, let's do some good things back for the community. And so Jerry, my companies, Jerry's companies, a handful, I think we have 30 partners, business partner companies. We are the Legion Giving Partners, and we're doing a lot of cool things, as Jerry mentioned. So if you are interested in that, don't hesitate to reach out to me. But as we kind of wrap up this segment, Jerry, can you share with us a little bit about, what's on the immediate horizon for Jerry Wallace and SwimChem?
Well, you had alluded to something new coming up, and that's something that we're working on. We've been working on for a few months, and we were hoping to be going already with it, but it's probably not going to happen until February when we're able to offer this new service. And obviously, everybody knows California's in a big drought, and there's water issues. Swimming pools periodically need to be drained because of buildup of solids and whatnot in the water. Right now, it's kind of frowned upon to just dump 20,000 gallons of water down the sewer or storm drains.
To drain your pool.
So there's now a process the process has been around for a long time. It just hasn't been applied to swimming pools. But now there's that technology's been brought to the swimming pool industry where we can actually recycle the swimming pool water through some very intricate and sensitive filtration mechanisms, take the water out of the pool through our trailer that we're going to get, and put it back into the swimming pool and actually recycle 85% of the water instead of having to dump it down the storm drains. So conservation, we have to be better stewards of our environmental, concerns and natural resources, and I think this is going to be a big deal.
Jerry Wallace, giving back to the community, creating a differentiation that is good for our environment. Coming up after the break, we have a special treat. You will meet the energetic Sean Murphy, co-founder and CEO of Switch and Shift, and the author of The Optimistic Workplace, Creating an Environment that Energizes Everyone. You're listening to Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Sports 1140, KHTK, and always streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at haneybiz.com.
Once again, here's Mark Haney.
And welcome back. We are here with Sean Murphy, co-founder and CEO of Switch and Shift, and the author of The Optimistic Workplace, Creating an Environment that Energizes Everyone. Good morning, Sean. How you doing?
I am well. Good morning.
Good. So you've heard the first part of the show. What does winning look like to you, Sean?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, it's boils down to a couple of things. So my top two values are purpose and meaning. So winning looks like doing something that has purpose and meaning, not just to me, but to the work that I do.
Okay.
So with our clients, I don't take work that is just for the dollars. There's got to be something bigger in it. So I think winning, that's what winning for me, that's what it looks like personally. I think the other part that Jerry said that I thought was important is, it can't be all totally altruistic. There is a financial element to this,
right,
and that is in making sure that my family can, have the lifestyle that we need to be able to live the kind of life that we want. We're simple people. We don't need lots of money, but
but yeah, you got to make a living. You got to put food on the table, right?
Absolutely.
So you talked about your finding purpose and meaning for your clients. Who are your clients? How do you help them?
Yeah, so we one of our clients is just outside of Seattle. They're a healthcare company, and the CIO was looking to reorganize. He was a new guy, brought in because there was a big security breach, and kind of had to clean up because there was, people had to be held accountable. So typically when an organization reorgs, they think, we just move the boxes and we're good, right? Salary reports to John reports to me, and everything is good. Well, we like to look at what we call the human side of business. There are people who are involved here, and just moving people in boxes just doesn't make good business sense. You got to sustain whatever business outcomes you're responsible for. So you've got to tap into the knowledge of the community. In this case, it would be their customers as well as their internal customers, as well as what their employees are experiencing, and find out what's important to them and how can that be folded into the way that the organization is restructured.
Now, typically what I recommend when there's a security breach is some surveillance cameras. We own a surveillance camera company, so that's kind of our go-to. But I guess helping them with their management is also important. Now, what kinds of things should people be thinking about when they start discovering their purpose and their meaning?
Well, the first thing that I think anybody needs to really get clear on if they're going to explore purpose in their life is, what do they stand for? What are their personal values? I don't think a lot of us really spend a lot of time thinking about, well, what's valuable to me, right? We kind of intuitively know it, but in terms of like sitting down and really doing the work, a lot of us don't do that. And I think if we're going to live a purposeful life, we want to make sure we're doing things that align with what we believe is important.
Do you recommend like a purpose statement for a company or for a CEO or an entrepreneur?
We're working on right now some new marketing for Switch and Shift, which is the company that I'm the CEO of. And the video guy asked us, he said, "So what is your purpose?" And I went, and I am a purpose guy, right?
Right.
And so I think there's some value in identifying and writing it out, but oftentimes it gets cheesy and then, people don't pay any attention to it. So it really needs to be integrated into the way that you act and interact with people.
Okay. And so you've written a book,
Yep.
The Optimistic Workplace. It's creating an environment that energizes everyone. Who is everyone?
That was the publisher's idea. I did not like that part. And if they're listening right now, they're hearing that for the first time. I think everyone in this case is everyone that's on a team.
Yeah. And how do you energize the team? What's the key?
Well, there are 6 keys, but
Okay.
I've been coached on how to say this, and so
give us your elevator pitch.
I think I'll just limit it to a couple things. I think if you're going to create an optimistic workplace, the first thing that a manager is going to want to do is they're going to need to get real clear on what does the business need to achieve, right? And when we work with organizations, you think this is a simple thing, right? I tell people what's important, and then people do it. Well, we need to hear things multiple times. So getting clarity on what the goals are of the business, really important. Making sure that there's feedback, right? Okay. So that if I'm an employee and you're telling me these are the top 3 things, I need to know if I'm doing the right thing to be able to help achieve those goals. So goals, what are the top priorities in the business? These are simple things, but oftentimes they're not management practices that are followed.
You often find that the goals of the individual employee don't necessarily align with the goals of the company, or are you looking to find that mesh?
Well, I think oftentimes what we find is that there is no conversation around what's the goal with you as the employee and what's the goal of the organization and how do we bring them together. And oftentimes it's like, well, you work for me, so my goals are your goals. That's just not going to work today.
You can't just tell them what to do. They have to.
No.
They have to want it.
That's right.
And see how they align. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Now you've written this book. You're doing podcasts. Some of you may know out there that I am working on a book. It's called Yes If, The C Student's Guide to Entrepreneurial Success, where I have 3 easy, I don't have 6, I just have 3 keys with a possible 4.
3's a good number.
Yeah, it's the 3 S's with the possible 4, show up, shock 'em, and systematize. But it's not about me today. It's about you. Now, but I would like some advice. Now, writing a book, how has that helped the rest of your organization, the rest of your business?
So writing a book is really about social proof, right? That I know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay. Can I say that word? I just did.
Can you, Chris? Bleep that. We don't use profanity on this show, do we? Okay, go ahead. You slipped by. Hopefully the FCC's not listening.
Well, you just send me the bill. Right? So I think I totally forgot the question, Mark.
So did I. But so in your book, in your podcast, how do they help the rest of the business? I mean, you talked about it being sort of like giving you credibility. I don't know if that's a term you use, but how does that help? Yeah.
So writing a book, when you're a first-time writer, you don't expect to make money off of it, right? So I think what you really want to, darn.
Yeah. I was like, oh shoot, I thought I was going to make some cash on my book.
Well, you could have a different experience.
Okay.
So far, that is not my experience, but it's only been not even 2 months since the book has been out. It gives some social proof, some credibility, but I think it also helps establish how we can help other organizations. So when I wrote The Optimistic Workplace, it was really not just a why it's important or what it is, but how do you do this? How do I create the sense of optimism that people, when they come to work, have hope? And so we can actually go in and help organizations, and the book actually shows, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and so so the book's not taken off yet? It doesn't sound like it's.
No,
but
it's actually doing pretty good.
Where can they buy the book? Where can I buy? You gave me a copy, but where can someone buy this book?
Yep. So Barnes and Nobles is carrying it.
Okay.
Amazon, for those of us who like to shop online, is carrying it. We just learned that that it's been named one of the top business books of 2015. So that'll be announced officially in January. So it's doing pretty good. It's been a top seller on Amazon.
And you own your own business. It's a scalable model, it seems to me, because a book can scale out and you can sell the book anywhere.
Right.
You have a podcast that obviously listen to over the internet, so people can listen to you from anywhere. What do you see in terms of the growth of your company, and how do you scale it from here?
Yeah, that is the biggest question that we're having right now. A conversation that we're having right now is, so we're a virtual team. My business partner is in Seattle. We have other employees who are all across the country. And really where we're focusing is on the consulting, because that's where we can help stabilize cash flow.
Right.
So we're working to get into our dream client lists. So, figuring out how do we best help each of these clients who we see.
What is a dream client?
A dream client for us is somebody that, one, we can actually leverage what we're good at. So
is it a small business or a larger business?
We actually medium-sized to large business.
Okay.
Yeah. We've tried working with small businesses, and we actually have a few small business clients. But what we find is that the size of the employees doesn't really need the size of the services that we provide, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because we do culture studies, and you don't need to really do a whole lot of work with 5 employees.
So I sorry for interrupting you on
That's
that
okay.
but as we kind of wrap up, any last advice for entrepreneurs and people that are chasing their dream, trying to build some businesses?
I would say definitely get clear on the purpose of the business. Why should someone choose you over your competitor? That needs to be real clear. And I think a way to do that is to understand what's the problem you're trying to solve. I think spending time hiring the right people instead of just hiring the people that come your way, because they're the face of your business. They're the ones that are actually making stuff happen. So you really want to feel confident that they're out there doing, reflecting what the business is trying to reflect.
No question. Sean Murphy, thank you for being on the show today. Thanks for helping entrepreneurs like us, and for your book. I haven't read the entire thing yet, but I'm planning on getting there. I want to take a minute to thank Jerry Wallace, and I want to thank our sponsor. Haney Garcia Realty Group is a sponsor of this show, and we are helping create some entrepreneurial dreams at Haney Garcia. One of the things we're doing is we're getting ready to open up a new office. Kelly Pressler, one of our top agents, she was doing so well. She's such a leader. We decided to help her create an entrepreneurial opportunity for herself. And I have a mic problem? Oh, okay. I'm getting some language, some body language from the peanut gallery. So I was like, hey, don't forget to tell about this. So on the entrepreneurial story with Kelly is we are helping drive a new office in Lincoln. And Kelly is going to own a part of that company. And we're going to become business partners here in the next few weeks. And I'm really excited about that. And I think that's one of the things we do at Haney Garcia is we're looking to differentiate. We're looking to help realtors become entrepreneurs and do some things that are different. Now today we are going to do we're having a Socks for Soldiers campaign at our Granite Drive office in Rockland. It's at the Allegiant Giving Center, 4465 Granite Drive. I will be there from 12 to 1. We're working on driving socks to give back to our soldiers. And I think you know that my son spent some time in the military, and I've got a story behind that that's very personal and very meaningful to me. And if we can find a way to give back to the guys that protect this great nation, then we are, it's the least that we can do as entrepreneurs. And so I'll be down there at Haney Garcia from 12 to 1 today. Coming up next week, we'll have Mike Paris, founder of Black Pine Communities. Mike and Black Pine are building luxury homes that cater to the evolving styles of today's residential home buyer. He recently rolled out the exclusive Curtis Park Village, and we were just down at his newest development, the Creamery at Alkali Flats on the corner of 10th and D Street, and it's making Sacramento's newest development, Sacramento's oldest neighborhood. So that is, and we went down there the other day, and it is a really cool neighborhood. We'll have Mike on the show next week. And then coming up after the break, I will share some closing thoughts on winning and how we might string some wins together. So I'm Mark Haney. You're listening to Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Sports 1140, streaming live podcast and YouTube at haneybiz.com.
Once again, here's Mark.
I have some closing thoughts for today's show. What does winning really look like as an entrepreneur? You can kind of think sports, and you think of like the Golden State Warriors. They've won 20 games in a row, I think it is right now.
Right.
And, somehow they've been able to string some wins together. You've got Del Oro High School, right, their football program. They've strung several winning seasons together, focusing on practice, focusing on the process, focusing on the pursuit of winning, and not necessarily focusing on the payday.
Right, the prize.
The prize, yeah. So it's kind of interesting where you see some common threads in people that win. And I think some of the theories were reinforced on today's show. I mean, we talked about stringing some wins together. Jerry Wallace talking about showing up at work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we know that he's working till late hours at night on how he gives back to the community and helping the Rockland softball team. He's the head coach of the Rockland softball. So he's finding a way to give back, and he's finding a way to really commit. Now, so really winning the morning sounds like a great strategy.
Right.
Win the morning. If you get up and you have productive time in the morning, it really sets the tone for the rest of the day. And as you think about winning the morning, well, what about winning the afternoon? Yeah, absolutely. And winning the evening. And, I have a picture in my office of Ronald Reagan, and underneath it has something about winning supper time. So as families, as we think about America's youth, as we think about how this nation is evolving, and we're evolving in ways that we probably need to reverse direction. In some ways, I think a little bit of the welfare mentality is sort of becoming more of a populist mentality. It's more rampant out there. And I think some of those values that you get about giving back to the community and giving back work ethic and working hard, and some of those just good values that you learn in sports, that you learn as a business owner, that you learn through the school of hard knocks, they happen at the dinner table, right? And so the picture in my office is of Ronald Reagan, and it's a quote that says, "All great change in America begins at the dinner table." And I just think that focus on family and focus on the values and the philosophies that enable all of us to chase our dream, that's what it's all about. That's how we string our wins together. That's how we have year over year. That's how the prize will somehow get to us, I think, if we focus on the basics. So we got to win today. We got to win December. If we're going to win January, we got to win December. So let's have a great December. Let's set you can't say, hey, let's put it off till the first of the year. We got to win December. Win this morning, win December, and we win January. And let's string some wins together for the rest of 2016 and beyond. Now, with a heavy heart, I've got to mention the recent terrorist attack in San Bernardino, and I've got to salute the heroes that responded, that tracked down and eliminated that threat. It's difficult to call this situation a win because there's so many people that have been negatively affected by this, but that that San Bernardino law enforcement team came through, and I know it came through exhaustive training, teamwork, and believing in the process. So God bless all the law enforcement people out there for the hard work and the courage that you show, the selflessness, one of the most underpaid professions in this country. Really appreciate what you guys did, and just want to say, never above you, never below you, always by your side.
Absolutely.
That's our theme. Appreciate our guests today. Appreciate everything that my team has done to help put this together. And Jerry Wallace, thank you for being my good friend and sharing the last 40-something years with me.
He's an extraordinary guy.
He is.